A multidimensional array is an array containing one or more arrays. PHP understands multidimensional arrays that are 2, 3, 4, 5, or even more levels deep. However, arrays more than 3 levels deep are very difficult to manage for most people. In a multidimensional array, each element in the main array can also be an array, and each element in the subarray can be an array, and so on and so forth. Values in the multidimensional array are accessed using multiple indexes. This is an example of a two-dimensional array. The top-level array contains 3 elements, and each element is itself an array that contains 3 values. You can also use associative arrays in multidimensional arrays. We'll be looking at those in our upcoming examples. If you think of information that comes from a table, we could actually break this information down into an array, and that's what we're going to be looking at in this example. We're going to be creating a two-dimensional array that's going to contain 5 arrays, and those arrays will be containing information within them. Multidimensional arrays are both simple and complicated at the same time. The structure and concept may be difficult to grasp, but creating and accessing multidimensional arrays in PHPs is surprisingly easy. You'll use a multidimensional array to create an array containing more information than a standard array. You accomplish this by using other arrays for values instead of just using strings and numbers. Let's begin by making a music array. We're going to be creating a two-dimensional array that's going to contain 5 arrays, one for each of the artists, and then each array is going to contain the associated information. I'll begin by making an array called music, and I'm going to make this equal to an array, and then I'll open parentheses and pass on the nested arrays. We'll begin by creating an array within the music array. The first one is going to be for my first artist, and I'm going to list one of their albums, the year the album was made, and the type of music. I'll go ahead and put a comma, and then I'm going to create the second array. So once again, I'm just going to put array and list the information. Now to access the information in the array, we must point to the indices, both the row and the column. We can do this by using the echo statement, and we're going to echo out the music array, and then in the square braces, I'm going to put 0, and then in the second square brace, I'm going to put 0 again. If we save our page and we look at it in the browser, you can see that it's going to print the first indice of the first array. So if I wanted to also add the second indice, and let's wrap this within some text, you can see that it's going to print out the artist name, a comma, and then the album and the album name. And you can see how I'm accessing this information by first referencing the first array and then second referencing the second item in the first array. Now let's look at how we can make this array more meaningful. To get access to the elements of the music arrays, we must point to the 2 indices. Both the music array, which contains each of our artists, and the individual details about the artist. We're going to put a for loop inside another for loop so we can get the elements of the music array. We'll do this by starting off our for loop and setting up a counter. I'm going to say for, and I'm going to make a variable called a for artist. I'm going to set it equal to 0. We're going to see if a is less than 2, and then we're going to go ahead and increment on to a. Then I'm going to use the echo function, and I'll echo out the word artist, and I'm going to put in the number of the artist, so artist 0, artist 1, so on and so forth. And then we're going to start a UL. Next, we'll create a nested for loop. For this for loop, I'm going to set up another counter. This time I'm going to use D for details, and again I'm going to set this to 0. I'm going to see if D is less than 4. I'm taking 4 because I have 4 elements inside of my nested array. And then we'll increment D. And then we'll print some information onto the page in the form of a list. So I'm going to set up an li tag. I'm going to get the music array's index, and then I'm going to print the details. And we'll do this as a list. And then finally, outside of the nested for loop, I'm just going to echo out the closing UL. If I save this and we refresh in the browser, you can see how it now says Artist 0, and it lists the name of the artist, the album, the year it was made, and the category of music. And you can see that this would just print as many nested array elements as I might have. In the next exercise, we're going to look at another way that we can create multidimensional arrays, and we're going to take this information and make it a little bit more useful.